We're going to start with the big story, though, and how did the president make the decision to dismiss his most popular and highly rated general, General McChrystal? Mike Allen of Politico has some real inside details on how it all happened. And Mike, tell me, was this something that the president took some time to think about, or did he decide from the beginning that the general was going to have to go after this infamous article that appeared in Rolling Stone?
Well, Bob, the president took a little time, and there was debate, but the president's eventual decision was clear from the moment he read the first paragraph of that Rolling Stone article where the general is protesting, going to a dinner with the French, where an aide to the general refers to the French as gay. This is a NATO ally, someone that we're asking for more troops for. So it was the effect on allies, the effect on lower level people in the military that made the president realize we're better off without him than with him.
So what happened after that? As I understand it, the White House got a copy of that article. The press secretary, Robert Gibbs, walked it over to the residence where the president was. This was, what, 10 o'clock or so at night. Tell us what happened after that.
Yeah, well, Bob, they first discovered it when the general called Vice President Biden on Air Force Two Monday afternoon and said, sir, there's a Rolling Stone article, and I just want to apologize for it. Biden had no idea what he was talking about and had his aides track down an article. Tommy Vitor, the press aide that you mentioned, had gotten a PDF of it. He was sending that electronic copy around to aides who were trying to read it on their Blackberries, the tiny type they couldn't see it. So Tommy did it the old-fashioned way. He printed it out, took it into Gibbs with the bad passages circled, and then Gibbs, as you said, realized, okay, the president needs to see this. He took it into the residence up on the second floor of the White House. The president read only a couple paragraphs and was furious and said, we need to have a meeting about this right now. And so over in the office, over in the Oval Office, before aides had even gotten home, they had this big meeting, and that was when they decided, okay, the general's coming back, and they took some time to talk about what to do with him, but just about everybody in the room could guess where it was going.
I thought it was interesting in the article you posted for Politico. You said they argued both sides of the thing, and some people took both sides of the argument. What were the arguments that they went through that, well, maybe if we give him a dressing down, it would be better to keep him in place?
No, that's exactly right. The biggest argument to keep the general was this will disrupt our policy. It's better for the country, better for the world, better for Barack Obama for things to go well in Afghanistan. And so if this was the only general who could keep this policy going, or if pulling him out would delay things, that was what they looked at. But I'm told that from the beginning, they looked at it through the prism of, okay, well, let's look at what the case would be if we were not to accept his resignation. The controlling argument from day one, I'm told, was that you could not have this kind of insubordination. You could not have this murkiness about who was in charge of an American war. And the officials felt it would be very difficult for them to work with the general with this in the background, with this kind of history. And of course, Bob, as you know, he'd had indiscretions before. The president had to scold him on Air Force One once before for a speech that he gave in London, where he had peremptorily dismissed a possible policy option. So he was on thin ice anyway, as my parents would say, and the president had no tolerance for this. They realized that this was just not going to be a relationship that was going to last.
Some people would say that one of the reasons this happened was because the president was in an especially weak position right now. His polls are down. Some people are saying that he hasn't acted forcefully enough, for example, on the BP situation, and that this may have played into it. But as I read your article, what came through to me was that the president and the people around him were convinced that in order to keep the chain of command intact, and to stress that it is the civilian that is in charge of the military, not the military in charge of the civilian troops. This seemed to be the main argument. I'm sure some of these other political things played into this, but it seems to me that this is what concerned them the most.
Well, I think that's right. And Bob, I agree with you that the effect of this has been to have the president look very much in command. Like, this president needs to be feared at home and abroad. This was a golden opportunity for it, but that wasn't the reason for it. I can tell you that the White House sent a very early signal about where they were going with this. They reached out to the Pentagon and asked for names of possible replacements. So when you saw Robert Gibbs in that briefing saying that the parents of American soldiers deserve competent and mature leadership, you can't have the White House podium calling you immature and last in that job. So the meeting was very brief, as your viewers know, and after that Oval Office meeting, the general went in disgrace in his black SUV over to the general's house at Fort Myer, wasn't even around for the big meeting that he'd supposedly been brought to Washington for.
And then selecting General Petraeus. Tell us a little bit about that, because I'll tell you one thing for sure, that prevented any kind of blowback from Capitol Hill, because General Petraeus has very high standing up on Capitol Hill among both Republicans and Democrats. So there was very little that the people who opposed President Obama on other issues, there's very little they could say about his selection of General Petraeus, except he picked the best man for the job.
No, I think that's right. And General Petraeus' confirmation hearing, which the administration is asking for as soon as next week, will be a great moment for President Obama for the reasons that you talk about. The decision was that General Petraeus would be the least disruptive choice. They did look at some other names. His name came up from the beginning. He is General McChrystal's boss, so they're asking quite something for General Petraeus to move from Tampa to Kabul. But he's going to do that, and the president in the Rose Garden made a big point of the fact that not only is General Petraeus supportive of this policy, he's an architect of it. He helped design it. One of the most interesting things I learned in the behind-the-scenes conversations was they said the one thing they never talked about was they did not relitigate the policy. They did not use this as an opportunity to change the policy in Afghanistan. And by picking General Petraeus for that, you're able to underscore that. The president's other big message was he does not want dissension on his team. The president in the Rose Garden sent the message to the whole government that he wanted it to be more like the Obama campaign, the no drama Obama, where, Bob, as you know, unfortunately for you and me, they didn't leak that much. They were loyal. They were all on the same page. The president is saying he wants that for his national security team and his larger team, and I'm told that that message was very deliberate.
All right, Mike Allen from Politico. Good story today, Mike, and thanks for all those details.